Closer. I think I'm closer now.
Are you?
Yeah,
And
because
we're live.
I
Ashley, where
was
are
like,
you?
I was gonna say, is
Hello,
Texas closer? Sorry.
hello, and welcome to the second webcast today. But if you're watching the recording, it's the first webcast because you didn't know there was a first, and
Right.
now there's a
what
second.
if they
And so,
watched one before this?
Yes.
hmm. So today's webcast about the Infosec Survival Guide is going to be like pre-show banter meets a webcast because we have some of the most clever and wittiest people at Black Hills all together in one place, along with a bunch of our friends and community members. And so I have a feeling this is going to go off the rails pretty fast. And so if you're expecting, I don't know what you're expecting today. We don't even know what we're expecting today because what we want to cover is the InfoSec Survival Guide, which Deb like wisely found a copy of so that she could hold up as
So
because like
many
right
here.
now I wish I had one in my hand. So for those of you that are saying book it right now, you're like 2 webcasts 1 day. Yeah, so thank you so much on Discord for saying that. We're gonna give you credit for your second webcast today, in case you're saying book it. And Deb is bringing me on InfoSec Survival Guide. Okay. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, the InfoSec Survival Guide. And what we'd like you to do is let us know if you currently have this or not. So I would guess you would say the word yes if I have this in the Discord server or here on Zoom. To the 200 of you that joined us, thank you so much for doing that. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how the guide was created, some of the behind the scenes of how to make it in case you ever want to make your own guide, because there's hopefully there's some other InfoSec companies here today going, how'd they do that? How'd they do that? Maybe we could do that too. So what we're hoping is that we give you some inspiration to potentially create your own guide or to contribute to our guide or to contribute to the creation of our guide or to at least share with people that it exists. Okay, so with all that said, I was out during the entire creation of the guide.
And
I was
still
gone.
got credit in the credits section. Interesting.
I did. It's right here in the front. Yeah.
Because Caitlin is wonderful.
Yeah,
And
and it said Jason was out all summer and showed up at the end and still get aced the exam. So, all right. So, Caitlin, take us a little bit back to when you first started, and I was like, "Let's make this," and you said,
So the first edition, first volume of the InfoSec Survival Guide looked very different. It was, to put it kind of bluntly, it was a lot of ads for Black Hills, and it was what we can do. And that does have a purpose. It is good to introduce yourself and to explain what you're capable of and how you can help people. That is useful. But Jason kept calling it the InfoSec Survival Guide, and I kept waiting for where the survival guide part came in. And so we did the first edition, first volume, whatever you want to call it. And then over that holiday break of not 2023, but 2022, I went and I made a spreadsheet and a list of ideas of like what would be in a survival guide. What could this look like as kind of a pitch to Jason and Deb and the rest of the team of like, what if it looked like this? What if the second one had these kind of articles? And the more that we worked on it, the more that I talked to other people at Black Hills and other experts, the more that list grew. And in this second volume, I addressed that of it grew wildly out of control to a point where if we were try to include all of the topics in one book, it would be textbook sized. But the takeaway from that was, if there are this many things to talk about and this many contributions, we can keep doing it. We can keep growing it, and we can ask all of these experts with those ideas to help us out. And so that's what we did. So we took those ideas and I went and I distilled them down into when I was, the way that I found myself to Black Hills was because I was trying to teach myself about InfoSec. I was trying to transition from design to cybersecurity. Spoiler alert, I'm still a designer, and that's okay, because I did land in the cybersecurity realm. It was just a change. But when I was teaching myself about InfoSec, I was asking, like, where do you start? What kind of career path do you choose? How do you know where you want to go when you don't even know what the options are or how to get there? And along the way, I also learned things like how do you respond to a no? When do you enforce a no? How do you get a yes when you want or need one? Protecting your mental health and your privacy health is really important, especially in this realm. So those are the sorts of topics that I started with, the bare basics, and I kind of also framed it around John's 5-year or 5-phase plan. So that was how we distilled it down into these ideas and this set of articles. From there, and having that list, I posted in our community leaders or Friends of Black Hills chat. And I was like, hey, can anyone help with these? Pick a topic. And these kind, lovely folks, lovely experts, some of them were like, I'm not an expert. And I'm like, it's your job. You're the expert. I'm definitely not. I draw pictures. So some of it needed a little bit of encouraging there. But what came back was a bunch of really great, useful, helpful articles that touched on what the topic was, gave some helpful links, and it got people enough to keep Googling in the right direction. And that was the goal. So that was how all this started.
Yeah. Thank you, Caitlin.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so we presented those topics. For what most people don't know on the Discord server is there are hidden channels. Like most new people come, they see the Discord server. But for those of you that engage, that keep engaging, more channels unlock and more channels open up. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is like trust, right? We want to be able to trust you before we like allow certain people to do certain things. But for those people who like really engage, who really help, who really support, who really become a part of this community. And when I say part of the community, like we get together once a week, we see each other at conferences, right? Like there's a closeness that happens. So we were like, would you help us write this guide? And they were like, yes, we will help you write this guide. And so that is where the content came from, because we didn't want it to just come from us. We wanted it to come from the community. So Blake and Kathy and Meta and Serena, who is on the Black Hills team, and Troy, who's on the Black Hills team, and like we all work together to like create the content, vet the content, talk about the content, make sure that it was all relatable and useful for you. And so here's what I'd like. If you're an educator, if you're a teacher, if you're a person who is responsible for that next generation of cybersecurity professionals, please reach out to us so that we can send you a bunch of these for free for your students. If you read the guide first and agree with everything inside of it. All right. So I don't want you to just hand out this guide and then later on you find out you're like, wait, what is, oh, no, parents should never read this. So whatever it is, like, just make sure that you agree with 100% of what the content is. And that's just for
the
our
record,
own.
it is family friendly, and
It is family friendly.
everybody.
Yeah.
We scratched out the curse word. It's fine.
Yeah. So Kathy, I'll start with you. Like you had the opportunity. You said, here's a list of topics that you can choose from. And Kathy, you decided to pick one and was on incident response. But like, why did you want to contribute to that?
So incident response is something that I do in my day job. And so it was a topic that was pretty comfortable for me. But I also effectively do incident response as a first responder. I've been in the fire service since 1997. So, I've been able to kind of look at the topic both from an IT/security perspective and from, sort of general life experience. And I had already written something for the 97 things every InfoSec professional should know. And so it's just an area that I felt really comfortable in and felt I could contribute to.
Yeah. And you wrote a book. Yeah,
I did.
And it's in the guide. It's The Active Defender, Immersion in the Offensive Security Mindset, a book by Dr. Catherine Allman. So can you tell me a little bit about the book? And we'll just drop the link in here. And it's
Sure.
That's not what we're doing here today, but like you wrote a book. And so I want to make sure that like we let people know that that book exists if they want to continue to read that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be just the really short version. Basically, the idea came about because, as somebody who actually works in the defensive side of security, I didn't learn until I had been doing stuff for a long time that there was an offensive side. And essentially, I realized that I had been missing half the picture, right, or half the story of what being a good security person is, and in fact, what being a good defender was. Because if you don't really understand what it is you're defending against, you only really do yourself disjustice. So the concept behind the book is to introduce offensive security concepts to defenders in a way that I hope makes sense and is accessible, because folks need to understand, how offensive security folks do what they do, because what they do is effectively what attackers do. So that's the real short version of what the book is about. And I had a lot of help from the security community. Jake Williams was my technical editor. You folks did a book signing at DEF CON with me, which was absolutely amazing. But if you poke your nose into the acknowledgments, you'll see, like, I joke that you can, it takes a village, right, to raise a child, sort of thing, but it really took the whole community to write this book in many ways. Yeah, I sat down and actually wrote the content, but the contributions I got from so many people were so helpful.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Blake, you wrote a section here. And so, like, why did you say yes to wanting to contribute to the InfoSec Survival Guide?
Thanks, Jason. That's a great question. So I said yes because it was an opportunity for me to give back to the community and share knowledge. And the knowledge that I had gained when I got into digital forensics, the way the industry was structured was a lot of the knowledge and training was behind paywalls and large licenses to get a product, to get access to the training, or you had to be in law enforcement. So when I was thrown into a digital forensics investigation, I was a systems administrator and had technical experience. There were not a lot of resources for me to compare and reference in Google and say, hey, here's an example, here's an article that I can refer to, here's something that can give me some guidance on chain of custody. And when I learned this, I was given a great opportunity by a consultant that was working company I worked for. And this person walked me through many different scenarios and taught me chain of custody and how to approach things with digital evidence, so that, in the need that evidence that you're gathering needs to be presented or preserved or documented for legal matters, that I was able to do it the right way. So by contributing to this survival guide gave me a chance to give back, to kind of pay it forward from when someone had done this for me. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I do stand on the shoulders of giants. And by sharing and pointing to those references that I've gathered along the way, along with a blog that I write, which the same purpose is to share that knowledge and hopes that someone who finds themselves in the same situation that I was in would have a great resource to guide them along the way. Started. So definitely fortunate to be asked to participate, and grateful to kind of keep the industry going, keep the knowledge going forward, and set a good path forward for those who are coming into the field.
Thanks, Blake. And Blake's been contributing and giving back to this community for a long time. And so the same thing with anyone that's here. Like, this Discord server, if you're a part of it and you don't realize it's been going on since March of 2020, like, it has been around and supported and helped people for many years now. And it's because of Blake and Kathy and Meta and others here that have, decided, I'm going to help and make sure that people get the support that they need. Caitlin, because...
Which Caitlin?
Oh yeah, the other Wimberly, Caitlin Wimberly. Please explain to everyone here what your role was in the creation of the InfoSec Survival Guide.
Oh, okay. I got a message saying, "Hey, we're doing this InfoSec Survival Guide. Do you want to help?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then I reviewed some articles and I helped.
To expand upon that, we needed, so Cassie is our editor. I always say she's our word person, and I'm the design person or the picture person. But neither Cassie nor I are cyber security people or infosec people, and so we need specialists to take a look with their special eyes and tell us if that information is at least accurate. It might not be complete. It might be able to be phrased in a different way. That wasn't what we were looking for. We were looking for, do the technical aspects that Cassie and I would not catch, do those make sense, and are they accurate? And so we reached out to Caitlin because A, she's really lovely to work with, and B, she's very good and careful about what she does. So we could trust her with tech checks.
You wouldn't think that from the response that I just gave to Jason's question.
Very true.
Yeah, so it does, like, when we put these things together, we have an idea. And as a reminder, like, I'm not a cybersecurity professional. Caitlin's not a cybersecurity professional. Like, I've been around it, I've been a part of it. But
No,
That's hogwash.
yes, that Caitlin is.
That's hogwash, Jason. You're a
Serena, what role did you play in the creation of the Infosec Survival Guide? As you can tell, I was gone all summer. And so Caitlin Cash knows, but Jason's like, I'm confused.
No, this is fun for me. Keep going.
I think I wrote an article.
You did an article and also tech checks.
Yeah, and some tech. Yeah, I read through other articles of that people submitted and wrote.
I
So
believe you wrote one on networking, Serena.
I think it was like more content creation focused.
Oh yeah, networking. How to put yourself out there, networking on social media. Fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love, encouraging people to create content, also being realistic about sometimes what it's like to create content. But when I was in college, I really wish there were more free resources available to me because everything was very, very expensive. And yeah, so that's like one of the reasons why I like making content, is so that people have things available to them that aren't costly, that can still like help improve their career or knowledge or different things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Serena, you were at the cybersecurity marketing conference with us, and I think you heard this quote from the stage. It was other companies, not to bash any companies, but they had this. They were like, if it's good enough for someone to pay for, put it behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
Don't do that.
I think that the way that like a lot of companies, oh gosh, we don't need to zoom in on me like that. I think the way that like a lot of companies do marketing in a way where it's like, okay, if the marketing team creates something so good, like I don't think people should pay for that, because why are people paying for marketing for you? There's a lot of things. It's like it really limits how much your information can get out there. So you have to really decide. You're like, all right, do I want to do this because I want to make money, or do I want to do this because I want to spread the word? Right. And so that is something to kind of take into consideration. One example is like TikTok, where they artists, music artists were like really against having their music on TikTok. And now, because it's become so popular, and a lot of songs that were produced like even decades ago have started charting again because it went wild on TikTok, and now people pay other influencers to promote their music on TikTok. And so sometimes it's like it's does the opposite of what they're trying to go for. So yeah, I like that we give stuff away for free.
Speaking of giving it away for free, like if you were a part of a conference and you would like a bunch of InfoSec survival guides to hand out to your attendees, you can always reach out to us on the contact us form page on Black Hills InfoSec. Meta, who is not, and we had some debate for quite some time that Meta was actually an AI bot, but Meta is not. Meta, you contributed to the red team and the pen testing. But if you've never like actually spoke with Meta here on the Discord server, like when you answer a question, you give like a detailed response with like bullet points and things like that, which is why sometimes we assume AI. But Meta, can you give us some background of like why you chose the red teaming and the pen testing articles to contribute to, and like why you wanted to be a part of it?
Well, first of all, Jason had promised me that I was going to be internet famous, so I figured that was probably going to be pretty important on this. But the red teaming and pen testing were a couple fold. One of them is there's a lot of, especially historically, overlap between those two. But today they're kind of separated, and there's a lot of misunderstanding on those. So I thought maybe if I just took a chance at that and wrote it out the way I see it and what my experiences are, it would probably give some people some insight. So hopefully it was good. I personally hated them, but I was assured by the publishing team that the content was pretty solid. So we'll see.
Yeah. And for those of you that contributed to the guide but weren't able to make it here today, thank you so much for contributing to it. Troy, what role did you play in the creation of the Infosec Survival Guide? Oh, and Caitlin, get ready. Caitlin Cash, get ready, because I want you to like show your screen and walk people through the actual development of the zine.
So I was asked to review, I think, some IR and forensics articles. For those that don't know, I'm on the digital forensics and IR team at Black Hills Information Security, and I was like, what am I getting into here? And when I reviewed those articles, I was like, this is the easiest thing I've ever had to do, because they were both spot on. I think Blake's and Kathy's are the two that I reviewed, and it was probably the easiest thing I've ever had to do in my life. So yeah.
In your life?
In my entire life. I mean, like I said, it was both articles were
wow,
like, spot on. That's yeah. So it was great. I'll do it anytime.
Thank you, Troy. Let's have Wade pop in here. Wade, you contributed an article, but here's the thing about Wade. Before we go full screen to Wade, because at some point we're going to do that, Wade gave a 15-minute talk at like the first virtual Wild West Hackin' Fest, I believe. And I think we said it was a 30-minute talk, and then we're like, haha, it's 15.
And then John muted me for 5 minutes.
But the part that we heard was so good that he was one of the very first, like, you know, we have Anticast now, we have all these other things that we do, but like Wade was the first one that we brought in, because we're like, we need that 15 minutes to be expanded to 45, because that was amazing. And so here's my point, is that sometimes you're not, you have all this knowledge inside you that is waiting to come out. Yeah. And what we'd like you to do is waiting. Yeah. We'd like you to participate, because once you participate, we get a chance to get to know you. We get a chance to meet you. Like, what we want to do is like help you share your knowledge with more people. And so Wade, thank you for like embracing sharing your knowledge. Ryan, what are you doing? Like zooming in? Who was that?
Extreme close.
Stay at the kid table, buddy.
Yeah. So
this is why we're on the kids' table.
So Wade,
dog shot is important.
What drives you, Wade, to want to share your knowledge? Because you do it in so many ways. Like, you got a class coming up, you give talks. Like, what's that thing inside you that says, I want to share my knowledge?
Yeah. Wow. That's a big question. I would say one just helping people, right? One of the things I was kind of like thinking about this is kind of weird, yesterday in deep thought as I was like walking my dog. I realized when I give back, like I try to give back. You should never expect anything to ever come back to you, right? And I should only try to give back to put good in the world. That's the one big thing. I'm trying to make the world a better place. It sounds so corny, but that is definitely my thing, is to try to help as many people. I've had a lot of people help me when I was coming up through the ranks, right? And like my first two jobs, the first job in IT I got was through a connection. I was working fast food and someone said, hey, we need someone who's customer service, and they pulled me in. And then my first security job was someone who got fired from that first job, and he's like, hey, they're hiring security people over here with no experience. Do you want a job? And instantly I was yes and got in. So having those people really like reach out to me and give me that guidance and experience, and then of course like my mentors and stuff, really drives me to try to help the community and better. And I think for me to affect the world in a way that, like, the best way I can, the most efficient way, is to provide information to people. Like I'm not going to be like the president or like a politician, and nor do I want to be, but me giving this information could provide some type of change, or like help someone catch like the biggest piece of ransomware, right? They watched one of my webcasts somehow. Even it's like the whole butterfly flapped its wings and there's a tsunami on the other side of the world. I'm trying to be that butterfly for at least one person.
Butterfly with the mustache.
Awesome. Deb, for those of you that don't know Deb, right? Like you see her, she's got hats and all that stuff. But Deb, the first time I ever noticed the superpower that she has is we had created a word search or saw a word search, and she like looked down and just started like solving the word search, and she's just like, oh, there it is, 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 there it is. And I was like, oh, you have a superpower. And so one of Deb's superpowers is to catch typos. So Deb, walk us through the evaluation period that we had for to get the survival guide where it needed to go on time. So walk us through that.
Our timing wasn't great this time, so I feel like the evaluation period was probably 2 weeks shorter than it needed to be. So, but yes, I do like finding things that are wrong. I guess that's another way to say it. I see mistakes and I just want to fix them and make them right. So when it got Cassie is our word girl for sure, but you can't catch everything. So to have that final person be the one that goes through everything and make sure it sounds right and there's commas where they need to be and use the right word, use the right there instead of the other there. Like that's what I got to do. So I the comma queen. Sure, I can be the comma queen. Yeah. So Caitlin and I have talked about this a lot. We learned a lot. We've learned a lot about timing and the process and how moving forward, we definitely need more time on the back end to not feel rushed. You don't want to feel rushed when you're doing the final edits of something this important to us. So yeah, we're gonna be better next time. I'm gonna fix that. That's what I'm gonna fix.
What we're not going to do is we're not going to set print dates and expectations until the thing is done already.
Yeah.
Then we can pick a print date.
Yeah, we learned so much.
Yeah. So for us, a lot of times we don't actually have deadlines. We don't. John's like, hey, make a thing. And we're like, yeah, we'll make a thing. Like it's gonna happen. But Wild West Hack and Fest is like the only deadline that is like looming at all times. And so we wanted to have this done in time to go out before Wild West Hack and Fest, so that way we could go to Wild West Hack and Fest and not have anything to do after Wild West Hack and Fest. And so if you received this in the mail, you were one of the 7,700 people that we actually put these into an envelope for and shipped for free. If you want to know what the postage is to send out 7,700, I believe it was about $38,000. Was it?
Yeah.
So 38 grand to send out all of the
Erica,
Infosec Survival.
she's like, you spent how much? It's like, well, we talked about this before. Remember we talked about it? And she's like, I know, just making sure. So.
There's nothing like maxing out a $25,000 credit card in one day.
A couple of them.
And then having to like call like, hey, can you pay off the credit card real quick? And you're like, but there's 25 grand on it. You're like, yeah, I know. It's gonna
Not
go
anymore.
And that was in one day. All right. So if you received one of those, thank you so much for being a subscriber to Prompt. And so that's what we wanted to send. Yeah. All right. So Caitlin, can you walk us through the design?
I can. I'm actually where I share my screen.
Yeah, you got the rest of this. And so Caitlin, you're in charge from this point on. So if there's anything that you want to do, because you actually,
right?
Yes,
I'm in charge.
For sure.
She put the zine together. And the only thing I'd like you to do, Caitlin, is when you're done talking about this part, could you ask people what they'd like to see in the third version?
Okay. I mean, people can already start contributing ideas if you wanted to, unless that's too chaotic. But I know everybody's gonna have ideas. So this is InDesign for the uninitiated. This is what I build the zines and any print materials in. It's great for me and it's not great for anybody else. So whenever I share it with Deb or Cassie or anybody else who's looking at these files, they can't make changes. They essentially get a PDF and they can comment on the PDF. And then there is a way to make it show up in InDesign, and that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, so it's hard to pass things between teammates this way. But it's the design tool. You can see over on the side is where I kind of throw things as I'm working that like they kind of work and I don't want to get rid of it. But I'm working on something else and maybe this way is better. And then I just keep this for safety. When you're passing off design file, if anyone's curious, if you're passing off design files to other designers, you clean that up. Everything in the margins is gone. So we have the inside cover, credits, more stuff over here. Something that was special for the survival guide was these little notes. So these I actually did draw in InDesign. I have a screen that you can actually draw on. It's like an iPad tablet, but a computer monitor. And so I just drew within InDesign. And then this font is actually my handwriting. There's an app for that where you can just make your own font or typeface, and you can type out in your handwriting. So that's how that happened. Here you can
I like how you called me out. That's fine. I was gone the whole summer.
I mean, I can't remember what the original note was, but to be fair, Jason, this one's yours.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah,
Yes,
because the other one was like he was donating his liver or something. I was like,
Yeah, it was something liver related.
liver manufacturing, etc.
Yeah, we did have a lot of fun with the credits in here. I can't remember who the first one was. Maybe it was me on accident because I didn't know specifically what BB's official role was. And so I just put like very tall genius or something because I knew he was really tall. And that was just for me as a placeholder. And then other people saw that as we were working. They're like, I want a silly title too.
I think at the very end, I reached out to Troy. I was like, dude, you're the only one with like a non-silly title. So I think you need to pick one.
Yeah. And then down here, you can also tell it's mixed. There's some serious ones in there, and then there's some silly ones in there as well. That we had fun with the credits. So over here, again, I always like to see what's in other people's margins, so that's why I'm going over there. The way that this file is built as well is these highlights are actually underneath the text. If I can move it, there you go. So if I wanted to move any highlights around, I had to in the layers go and move that.
Why did you do it that way?
Why did I do it that way? Because it looked better. It made the font still very readable. It didn't mess with the visibility of that at all. But I got like a nice, clear, distinct yellow from that, and anything that would be clear and distinct yellow wouldn't do that. Wouldn't keep the readability of the text.
How did you get the ideas to scribble on it? Like, where did that come from? Like,
that is a great question. So something that I'm actually seeing more of now is when people are like thrifting books, they'll look and it's like a special treat when you see their little notes and stuff in the margins. But my inspiration actually came from when I was younger. There was a book, and I'll keep it non-branded to not start stuff. There was a book that was a fake textbook, and it actually had two characters, just their silly notes in the margins. And it transformed the book from what could be very, very dry into, it was made for comic relief in Great Britain. And it did the job. Like, it was something that I obviously still remembered from childhood, and I loved it. And that was a book that my sister and I kind of argued over custody when we grew up. So that was where the inspiration came from, was another book that did the same thing.
Caitlin, someone's asking, is this InDesign?
This is InDesign, yes.
Okay.
And more little people over here. These little stick dudes are surprisingly hard to get right because they're so minimal. It's very evident when you have like one little wobble out of place, but they are significantly easier than like fully drawn people.
Caitlin, someone said, I'm amazed at the unified tone throughout. All the little quotes and side notes sound like they're straight out of one of John's courses or webinars. So got a lot of Johnisms in there.
Yeah, the parentheses, maybe they aren't. All of the notes and the scribbles and everything are from me. I did not run them past anybody until they were already in here. So Deb and Cassie and the editing crew, they could have changed it. They could have made notes. And there were a few, and I can't remember what page it's on. But the article says you don't have to know everything at the start. And then my little note is good, because if you did, I'd be, and then a big scratch out. And those are things that I'm like, I'm not gonna get away with this. And I'm just kind of having fun with it for myself, fully expecting it to get cut or changed or watered down in some way. And they come back and they're like, no changes. It's good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. This one I enjoyed drawing on the little people. This guy's got some underwear. I'll zoom in on there.
So Caitlin, someone's asking, like, did you have a background in InDesign or did you learn as you go?
My background is in illustration, so I know Photoshop and Illustrator very, very well. And in my previous job, I worked in Illustrator day in, day out. That was our everyday program for 4 years. So I am very fluent in those. InDesign, I actually learned for Black Hills. I did not know InDesign until the first zine that I did with them. And this is the first that they're hearing about that.
I did not know that.
We didn't know that until just now.
Wow.
Nope.
You picked it up pretty quickly.
Wow. Way to
You make it. Oh, my goodness.
There are a lot of similarities between the design programs. So if you're very, very fluent in one, it's pretty easy to pick up another. And because I'm fluent in a few already, it makes it even easier to pick up new ones. And in InDesign in particular, I work the way that I would work in Photoshop or in Illustrator, where I'm building the elements a little differently than a graphic designer might. So if somebody else were to take over these files, they might look at it and be like, what the did you do? Why did you build it this way? But it's functional. It works. It got the job done.
Does everyone, I don't know if you mentioned like how you actually came to work at Black Hills, is that you filled in a contact us form when we released the first zine saying, I know how to do this if you ever need help. And one day we were like, yes, we need help. And so once again, if you're part of this community, if you're lurking in the background, like stop lurking, like get engaged, jump in. Let us know you exist. Let others know you exist, because there's probably something you have inside of you that is useful and helpful to others. And it may be buried right now. You may be just keeping it under wraps just because you're afraid of sharing that with others. So.
Yeah,
Max
I definitely have a story that's like, that's not how that happened.
Was it different? Did I remember it differently?
Oh, no, you remembered it correctly. I was just acknowledging that I had a very unusual story of like, I found you guys, I left a note, and then the next thing I knew I had a job. Like, that's what people dream of, but that's not what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Cassie takes full credit. Whatever, Cassie, you're not even here. You can't do that. It's a team effort.
No, we can give Cassie this one. She's you know, she's the one that emailed me.
No, I just wanted to be snarky.
Am I the only one who felt very like Harry Potter-esque with this? Like, especially with the notes, almost like Half-Blood Prince, where you're reading it and you're reading someone else's notes. That's what it was really harping back to me.
Yeah. I liked the notes concept because it makes you feel like you're not alone, and you have somebody else there in the journey with you, and it's at a peer level. So it's not talking down to you. It's not trying to teach you more. It's a classmate there with you and keeping you company, and like, I don't know, going on the journey with you, being a little snarky along the way.
I would like to add.
Oh, go ahead, Blake.
I was going to add that Caitlin gave some excellent directions on what the objectives were, what they're looking for, the concept of these are called each pages are called spreads. There's only so much information that can go on there. So to Troy's comment earlier that it was, some articles were the easiest things to review, that a lot of that is in part to Caitlin and her ability to communicate and the requirements that she set, because I just followed her directions and then the rest took care of itself. So
yep. That makes a lot of sense. I just read off yours and just wrote mine to look like yours. So
and I agree.
I
mean,
appreciate
my like I was excited to be involved, and I knew enough about the topic, but like, then where do you go, right? And her direction was perfect to be like, this is kind of what we have in mind. It really shouldn't be any longer than this. This is kind of a sample, and that definitely made it way easier than trying to guess. Like,
I take something back. Kathy, I learned today that you were in firefighting, and that's awesome, because whenever I talk about incident response, and you probably likewise, and anybody that does IR and forensics, specifically IR, relate to firefighting, right? Like, you can't predict when it's going to happen, and your time is of the essence, containment and stuff like that. Stop, drop, and roll. Like, that needs to be in there now, right? Like, that's so I used to joke around about that a lot when like a higher level will come in when we're during the middle of an incident. And when you walk into a SOC, a security operations center, and it's really quiet, there's either one or two things that are going on. Either everybody hates each other in there and nobody wants to talk to each other, or there's an incident going on, right? And everybody's kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. And I'll joke around, try to make light of sometimes, to lighten the mood. And it's like, what do we do next? I'm like, stop, drop, and roll, right? Like, that was what we learned about as kids when there's fires going on. So,
which
anyway, that's really cool that you got that background.
Yeah, thank you. It's particularly amusing because as somebody who is a firefighter, like, you don't really think about this, right? But the only time you do that, and that it's useful, is if you're on fire. So the fact that they teach this to a bunch of little kids is really kind of stupid. Really, get out, stay out is our message now.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so,
yeah, so did I.
Then,
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It's just so funny, like thinking about it. I mean, yeah, we taught totally the wrong message back then.
First, catch yourself on fire.
I mean, it's good to know what happens if I was to catch on fire. I feel like that is more critical to know, but it is less likely to happen.
Indeed.
The key is for the responders is don't panic, right?
Yes.
Don't panic.
Yes, so. But and don't have your towel, because having a towel could go badly.
So that actually brings me to, and I can bring this up. I'll stop sharing and then reshare, because there was a sticker that didn't make it to the final mailing of this.
That's right. Yeah.
And I
love this sticker. I know exactly what you're about to pull up.
Yeah. I guess let us know in the Discord server if you think we should print this.
There's a desktop background. I can pull that up as well.
Desktop. Oh, really? A desktop background?
Yeah.
It's not too far off. It's close. Close to
share screen.
Riz is like, haven't seen it printed anyway.
There we go. So this is the sticker that didn't quite make it. We tried. We really tried, but that deadline, you guys.
Timing, yeah.
Yeah, this was approved by John Strand, which was a major win for me. I pitched it. My email title to him, if I remember correctly, was "It's stickers in it." And I was like, there is no way I'm getting away with this. And his email response was cell number ? And then for hours I heard nothing. I sent him my cell number as an answer, obviously. And I was like, either this is really good or really bad. At this point, I can't do anything either way. I think he didn't get back to me until the next day either. Like, let's hope it's the really good side. And he called, and he even said, I was going to try and fake you out and make it sound really bad, but I've got nothing. They're great. So I was like, yay.
I want this as a wall sign.
It does look
someone said make it into a towel.
I like it as a magnet. It would be cool as a magnet, put on my fridge or something.
Oh, that's a good idea. Magnet.
Ideas for next Wireless Hacking Fest.
Yeah. So Kaylin, could you, I mean, I could do it, but what are you looking for in volume 3?
So what I'm looking for in volume 3 is more good stuff is the short answer. The people that were easiest to work with for this one were the folks that really knew their information, but were willing to cut it down. They were willing to speak at that beginner level, not talking down to people, but just being very concise and giving people enough information to Google more. and to not water it down. So if it's an expert level topic, you keep it at that expert level, like a peer level, but you keep it short. So if you're not willing to cut stuff out, this maybe isn't the place for you. But if you want to share with other people and you're passionate about giving people enough to keep growing on their own and encourage them to find out more, that perfect. Love that. Yeah. As far as topics goes, open book.
Oh, I got some for you. I'm ready.
So in the Discord server or Zoom, just go ahead and let us know what topics you think should be in volume 3. And we appreciate your feedback. So Caitlin, team contributors, on behalf of me, who was gone the entire time, I appreciate what you did, because I came back and got to see the finished product, and I was like, wow, great job, y'all. And so that was cool. And then I got to be a part of the shipping it to people, and so when you mail
its own webcast,
when you mail 7,700 of something, it's a lot. In the post office,
got to maximize a $25,000 credit card.
Can I just emphasize,
that's an achievement, man. That's
the mailing was not the problem. It was the stairs.
Yes,
the stairs really need to be highlighted in this story. The Baltimore office, which is where we were shipping from, has a narrow staircase. It is steep. There are, I think, 20 stairs, if not
it's
more.
Twice as many as like a normal.
Staircase. It is an above average height staircase, and it's walled in, so you can't even toss stuff over or anything like that. The stairs are what killed it.
Is it in Baltimore?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Ellicott City, so it's an old building. It's an old movie theater.
Like how far from the Inner Harbor is it?
Like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like a whole nother. So
it's a suburb of Baltimore. It's outside of the Beltway.
Oh, okay.
It's a fantastic location. We love it. Never ever will we do that again from this office.
We learned a lot. So that's the thing, right? We're a pen testing company that makes Infosec survival guides. A lot of the stuff we have to learn on our own. So here's the point. We hack it. We've never done this before. Let's hack our way through it. Let's figure it out. Let's not give up. Let's not quit. Let's figure out how to do this thing. If we need to mail it to 7,700 people, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out how to do it. If we need a list of 7,700 people, let's figure out how to do that too. That is the one thing that I can encourage everyone listening to this, is that if there's something that you want to do, just hack your way through it until you figure it out. Because there's nothing that you can't do. As long as you gather some good.
Is that in the survival guide, Jason? Just like page 0,
volume 3. Volume 3. So in the Discord server right now, if you have a topic that you would like in volume 3, let us know. I'm going to go around and do final thoughts. Final thoughts, Serena. What are your final thoughts for the Infosec Survival Guide and content creation?
We had to pick me first. I had a good time doing it. I'm excited to see more iterations and what other ideas people come up with to add to it. I have a couple of my own, so yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah. Deb, final thoughts for you.
Oh, give me a second. I feel you, Serena. Final thoughts. It's so cool to be a part of something like this. I don't know the right word, but to have this idea that it's just hey, what if we did this? And then so many people came together, so much smarts in one area, and then to have it printed in front of you and you're looking at it. And I did read it the first time and I'm like, okay, what's spelled wrong? What did I miss? So I don't know if I enjoyed it really until about a month after we got it, but it's just so fulfilling to see something in print that did not exist before, and then to give it away to all of you wonderful people. Yeah, just very fulfilling. That's my final thoughts.
Troy, final thoughts for you?
Make it really small, so you can put it in your pocket. So it could be really tactical if you're lost in the woods somewhere, you can pack with it and you don't have to take it
waterproof too.
No, I was thinking while we were talking, it would be kind of cool if, and I don't know how well this will scale because it might blow up, but having little cheat sheets at the end, like command line kung fu kind of stuff, right? Just ideas, because I keep my own little cheat sheets over the years of just commands of things that I find useful from time to time. I don't use them day in and day out, but Just, little things like that, maybe in the back end would be kind of cool. I was thinking.
Someone just asked, how can Black Hills afford all this? And so my simple answer is we don't have a marketing department. So we can just spend all of our time and energy and money making things. Blake, final thoughts for you.
I'll share same sentiments. Really cool to be a part of something like this. I didn't think back in 2020 when I started hanging around the Discord server after a couple of webcasts that I would make friends that I've got to meet in person, and then also contribute to something that other people get to use. And to take one of your statements, Jason, never deny someone the opportunity to learn something. Right, people sharing their knowledge in these guides is a great way to even showcase your own skills, but more just share things and teach other people. So,
thanks, Blake. Kathy, final thoughts.
So I want to kind of echo some of what Blake said earlier. First of all, being involved in this has been so much fun, and to what Blake said earlier, I love to give back to this community. It's the reason I wrote my own book. So to be, a part of something like this that so many people can have access to. Working in higher ed, I'm a huge fan of education, right? Like with all of its faults, at the end of the day, learning is key. And if you can find ways to help other folks in a way that maybe you didn't have coming into this is just so amazing. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kathy. Meta, final thoughts.
So I stumbled my way through most of my career successfully, amazingly, but a lot of stumbling blocks. I didn't have mentors. I definitely didn't have an Infosec field guide, those kind of things. So I'm just glad that I'm able to be part of a team that is able to provide some of that information, provide, not just valuable and guiding information, but that's not locked behind a paywall, even if it is worth paying for.
Thanks, Matt. Wade, final thoughts from Wade.
Oh, okay, I'm on. Blake definitely took mine, right? Where don't be scared, like the Jason quote, right? Like just share your knowledge. There's gonna be somebody out there that needs it. My other big thing is like if you like reading this stuff and you like doing this stuff, try to join a community near you or try to interact more, right? You think reading this stuff is cool, actually doing it is cool, and actually giving it back to you is cool. Volunteer at local B-sides or conferences, that type of stuff. It's more powerful than you'd ever think.
Thanks, Wade. Final thoughts.
Brian?
Caitlin Wimberly. Caitlin Wimberly.
Oh yeah, which one? Okay, I'm gonna go a different direction than everybody else. I would like to explicitly call out how freaking brilliant and talented the cool Caitlin is, the one with the C. Because I like a lot of this stuff wouldn't be nearly as amazing as it is if it wasn't for her and who she is. And I think that she needs to be recognized for that. So if you agree with me and you think that she's just flipping amazing, you should also let her.
She's dash of cash.
Thank you. I feel blessed to have Caitlin on the team, like to come up with these ideas and then see it the way it turns out. You're like, oh, this is so good. And so with that, Caitlin, final thoughts from Caitlin.
I very much appreciate the kind words and especially the feedback that what I did of setting up a style guide and giving firm directions made it easier for you guys instead of harder. That's great to hear. But equally or even more so, we could not do this without you. And I do very much mean that. I would not have felt comfortable opening up a project like this and trying to do something at this scale and say, let's ask random strangers for their input. I would not have felt comfortable with that without the community leaders and that Friends of Black Hills, because that's the safe space. That's the only place that I really interact on Discord, because I am not a very social person. I'm not on social media at all. And so to be able to have that safe place and just these very, very kind-hearted, lovely, wonderful, knowledgeable people. I love having that, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you. So for all of your contributions and all of your expertise and all of the times that you've been able to help us, that is what has made this possible in so many ways. So thank you guys as well.
Well
All
said.
right, everybody, that is it for our second webcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like copies of the InfoSec Survival Guide, you can reach out to blackhillsinfosec.com, go to the contact us page, and then let us know, and then we'll reach out to you at some point in the next week or so. Please give us some grace as we get to all the requests. And that's it for this. Thank you all so much. Ryan, kill it with fire, sir. Kill it, Ryan.